While the arm recoveries in backstroke aren't going to create speed, poor arm recoveries can absolutely kill speed. It can disrupt alignment, it can negatively impact the ability to create propulsion with the arms, and it can wreck timing. So if we don't improve, we don't address arm recoveries in backstroke, we're ultimately going to be selling swimmers short. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. If we're focused on the key skills of improving alignment, creating more propulsion, and optimizing timing, we're going to have to address arm recoveries at some point, because poor arm recoveries can have a negative impact on all these factors. And rather than just adding a couple drills, we need to use strategies that can be built into our training sessions so that we can develop these skills while improving fitness, so that these skills actually show up in races and swimmers have the fitness to sustain those skills throughout the entire race. We're going to go over why arm recoveries are so important. We're going to go over what effective arm recoveries are. We're going to talk about why it's difficult to improve them, and then we're going to go through how to improve them and what sets can look like in order to make that happen in practice. Let's check it out. So why does it matter? Why are arm recoveries relevant and important in backstroke? First of all, they disrupt alignment. So if the arms are entering behind the head, the shoulders are going to move out of position, then the hips are going to move out of position. Everything's going to be going side to side, especially when one arm goes this way and the other arm goes that way. And that's going to cause all sorts of alignment issues, which cause all sorts of resistance issues, all sorts of drag issues, which means swimmers are going to go slower. Poor arm recoveries also disrupt timing. So if the arm enters in that same position or it enters really wide, it's going to be a lot harder to rotate at the right time, and that's going to make everything more difficult to do because the arms aren't going to be in the right position to do what they need to do best, which is create a lot of propulsion. Which brings us to the next point. Poor arm recoveries can also disrupt propulsion. If their arms aren't in the right position, they're not going to be able to set up an effective catch. They're not going to be able to set up their stroke. If they can't do that, it's all downhill from there. They're not going to be able to move as much water as they otherwise could. And so for all those reasons, three really big reasons, swimmers are going to go slower if their arm recoveries are preventing them from swimming effectively. They're not going to be able to maintain great alignment, they're not going to be able to maintain great timing, and they're not going to be able to create a lot of propulsion. So if swimmers' arm recoveries are impairing these skills, we need to address them so that they can improve their overall speed. So what are effective recoveries? First of all, they're straight and they're over the top. So if swimmers are recovering with bent arms or they're swinging them from side to side, it's not going to be effective. They need to be straight and they need to be coming right up over the top to minimize any of that side to side motion. And because if they go straight and they go direct, they're going to be faster too, which means that swimmers can get through the recovery and into the next propulsive phase even faster. Where should they enter? About shoulder width. Again, they're coming right over the top. They're being direct, so they want to just go straight in. If they're too wide, it's going to be difficult to set up the stroke. If it's going to be over the head, that's too narrow, it's also going to be difficult to set up the stroke, and it's going to negatively impact timing and alignment. Then, when those recoveries happen, swimmers want to drive the arm into the setup of the stroke. And so it's going to couple with the rotation. So as the hand comes over, it's going to drive in, and that's going to set up the rotation. That's going to get the hand in a position where it can quickly be oriented to face backwards, to move water backwards. So the arm recoveries are relatively simple in terms of what needs to happen. They need to be straight, they need to be direct, they need to get into the stroke right away, and the body needs to rotate with the arm recovery so that everything can get driven into the water and into the water in a way that sets up the next stroke. So if we watch these swimmers here, what we'll notice is that they're coming straight over the top, they're really direct, the arms aren't bent, there's no side-to-side motions, and if you watch, the arms are entering pretty much right over their shoulders, which again is going to be easy for them to achieve from a structural standpoint in terms of range of motion. But just as importantly, there's not going to be that side-to-side motion. The other thing to watch for is as the arms come over, you'll see that the shoulder drives down, and so the rotation is happening with the arm recovery, and that's going to facilitate that side-to-side shift, which is what we're also looking for. So straight, direct, and then into the stroke right away and setting up the stroke right away, minimizing any side-to-side motion. There's no hesitation, and the timing still looks really good. So really direct is what we're looking for. Now, if we watch what's happening under the water, we'll see the hand drives in, and as that happens, you can see that the rotation's happening at the same time. So that's another important aspect of the recovery. It facilitates that rotation, and it facilitates that setup of the stroke. So you can see there, the hand comes in, and bam, he's rotated onto that side right away. The arm's in a position to get set up. And when the arm recovery is happening really well, that process is facilitated. If not, there's going to be maybe a delay in the rotation. The rotation's not going to really happen at all. or the arm's going to be behind the head, and that's going to prevent the rotation from happening. So again, you especially see it here on the other side. Arm goes in, and that gets him rotated onto that side, and then he can get into the next stroke. So a key aspect of the recovery is facilitating the process of getting into the next stroke, setting it up so that swimmers can create more propulsion and keep rolling forward and keep creating speed. So one more angle here, and what we'll see, again, straight over the top, she's entering right by the shoulder, right above the shoulder, and then getting into the rotation. And so right here again, bam, she's getting onto it, and she's getting right into the right position. And if those arms were coming in behind her head, she's going to have problems. If those arms are going in out to the side, she's going to have problems. But because everything's clean, because everything's direct, she's able to get into the right positions right away, and she's able to create more propulsion with the next stroke right away as well. And so again, the arm recoveries aren't necessarily creating speed, but they're preventing swimmers from losing speed by allowing them to maintain their alignment. You can see she's moving straight through the water. She's not going side to side at all, and get into the next stroke effectively and time the rotation effectively so that she can get more out of each stroke. Because if she was not in the right position from a rotational standpoint here, she's not going to have a great pull. And then also, if she wasn't getting right into the stroke right away, she wouldn't have a great pull either. So those arm recoveries really facilitate and set up that process by being really direct, really clean, really straight. So what's the challenge? Well, first of all, it's backstroke especially, the arm recoveries are really ballistic. Once the hand goes, once the hand's out of the water, it's gone. It's not something that swimmers can necessarily control. It gets swung over the top. And so while freestyle definitely has that element at faster speeds, a lot of times swimmers can kind of control or modulate their arm recovery in freestyle, a lot less so in backstroke. Once it goes, it's flying, and it needs to be direct right from the start, or it's going to cause problems later. So again, it's hard to change the arm path if it's not set up in the right way from the beginning. The other thing is that if timing is off, if the rotation's not happening at the right time, if their body alignment isn't very good, if they're swimming with an arched chest, it's going to be a lot more difficult to recover the arms. If their head's moving side to side, it's going to be difficult to recover the arms. And so the more that these other factors are influencing the recovery, the more difficult it's going to be to change the recovery if those underlying issues aren't addressed. And this is true of all recoveries. It's hard for swimmers to know exactly where their arms are in space. So they may think they're recovering the arm straight, but it's really bent. They can't tell the difference. They think they're doing it right. Or they may think that they're recovering the arm directly, but really it's kind of doing this wave motion over their face, or it's swinging way out to the side and then coming around over the top. Again, they don't necessarily know that because they've done it every time and it feels normal to them. So we have to help them become aware of what their arm is doing and what are the other options that may be more effective. Finally, and this is true of freestyle as well, the arms are moving independently, and so that's a lot more opportunity to mess them up. And so they have to stay in timing with each other, and because they're moving separately, it's hard to shift focus from one arm to the other, one arm to the other. And again, similar to the ballistic nature, it just becomes harder to control and harder to manage what's happening because it's coming at them fast, it's coming at them in an alternating rhythm, and that's just one more thing that makes it more difficult for swimmers to manage, control, and improve their arm recoveries. So solutions, well, we have to overcome those challenges. We know what swimmers need to do. It's pretty simple: be direct, be straight, drive into the beginning of the stroke. However, that doesn't mean it's easy to do. Swimmers have to be able to manage this when the arms are moving fast and they're moving ballistically and they're moving in opposition to each other. We also have to make sure there's no obstacles to effective recovery in terms of the alignment that they have, the timing that they have. We have to make sure that that's not an obstacle either. And we have to help them learn how to feel where their arms are in space, how to control that so that they can better influence what they're doing as opposed to just letting it happen, hoping for the best, and then wondering why nothing changes. We can do so in a systematic way. We can build that into the training. Then we stand a much better chance of getting change that actually results in faster swimming. Let's check out some ideas for how to make it happen. First up is paddle cap backstroke. So are we working on the arm recoveries directly? No, but we're removing an obstacle that can prevent effective arm recoveries. If that head is moving all over the place, well, they're going to have some trouble recovering the arms effectively because they need a stable platform from which to rotate and which to swing the arms. So it's going to be very hard to do if that head's moving. Our goal is to get that head locked in so we can actually improve the arm recoveries. Putting a paddle on their head, having them swim, tell them to keep it still. That's a pretty effective way to make it happen, because if that paddle is coming off, that means their head's moving, and they're going to get some very clear feedback as to what's happening and what they need to do about it. Now, if your swimmers don't have this problem, you don't need to address this step. And so if their head position is pretty good, they're not moving their head around, they're not moving their body around, you don't need to worry about this. But if they are, and you try to improve their arm recoveries without addressing this, you're going to have lots of problems. So make sure you check this box, and once you do, you can move on. This is paddle cat backstroke. Exactly what it sounds like, simple enough. You can see that head's not moving, he's keeping everything locked in, and that paddle's staying in place. And so it's a great way to get great feedback for swimmers. It lets them know exactly what's going on, lets them know exactly what they need to do, and it lets them know if they're messing up, when they're messing up, and what they can do to fix it. So super simple, super effective. If swimmers' heads are moving all over the place, give this a shot and they'll get it locked in sooner than later. Next up is delay backstroke. And as with paddle cat backstroke, this is more about removing an obstacle to effective arm recoveries as opposed to improving the arm recoveries themselves. So if timing is off, the arms and the body aren't going to be in the right position relative to each other in order to allow swimmers to recover the arms effectively. They're not going to be able to drive into the stroke. They're not going to be able to get the arm up and out of the water. Swimmers need to kind of be on their side to start that recovery process, and they need to be able to switch back to the other side in order to drive the arm in. And so if swimmers are struggling with that concept, they're struggling with their timing, we need to work on that. So a lot of times swimmers will rotate earlier in the pull, and this helps them delay that rotation so that when they finish the pull, then they can snap over to the other side. Now that hand's going to be in a great position to swing that arm over the top, and that'll make it a lot easier for swimmers to recover the arm effectively, especially if they're struggling with that skill. And as with paddle cat backstroke, if swimmers have this locked down, their timing is pretty good, you don't necessarily need to worry about this. It's only when their timing is a problem, that's when you just need to step in. That's when you need to address it before you really start working on the arm recoveries, because you're just going to have a lot more problems. If the timing's off, it's going to be very difficult to improve the arm recoveries. So the idea here is to really focus on pulling all the way through and then rotating, and that's going to make it easier for them to learn how to shift the body and how to recover the arms straight. Because if the arm's not in the right position when they try to recover the arms, it's going to be more difficult. So as you can see here, the swimmer is still on their side when they try to begin the recovery of the arm, and that's going to make it a whole lot easier. If the swimmer rotates over, that arm's going to be down, and it's going to be way more difficult to recover the arm over the water. So the swimmer can get practice being in the right position, recovering the arm. It's going to be a lot easier. Of course, this timing is going to shift away. The delay is exaggerated here, but by feeling it in this position, feeling it in this way, it becomes a lot easier to execute what we actually want them to execute when they swim. Now it's time to actually start creating change with clock drill. So most swimmers have no idea where their arms are in space when they're recovering. They think it's straight, it's to the side, or it's to the other side, or it's bent, or it's something else. So clock drill helps them build that awareness and, more importantly, the control over what's happening. They know where their arm is and they can control it. They're going to be able to recover the arms more effectively. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to recover and enter at different times. So if their body is a clock, it's 12 o'clock straight up head, and then 11 and 1 to the side, and then 10 and 2, and then 9 and 3 pointing straight out to the side. So you're going to have them swim and try to enter at different times. You can have them change the time within the repetition. So start at 12, get down to 9 and 3, or vice versa, start at 9 and 3 and go to 12. You can change it by repetition. So they shift down each rep, or they shift up each rep. You can have them enter at different times. So for instance, one arm's at 12, one arm's at 3. And then you can even have them change the time in different ways. So one arm's going from 12 to 3, and the other one is going from 3 to 12. As an example, you're having them try to control and change their arm recoveries to build awareness and help them learn how to control what they're doing. This is definitely an awareness drill, and you're helping them build the ability to determine what to do and how to do it. And the more effectively they can do that, the more likely it is they're going to find a better solution. They're going to figure out what feels best because they've been exposed to all these different options. And with your guidance, they're going to have a much better sense of what to do. And if you were to say everything clicks really well when you're between 11 and 12, they're going to have a much better understanding of what that is, and they're going to actually be able to make it happen because they know the difference between 12 and 11, 12 and 10, 12 and 9. By helping them gain control, we can help them execute a better skill. So if we watch here, you can see he's going to start off with pretty normal entries, and it's going to get wider and wider and wider as he goes through the lap and as he comes into the wall. And so you can make those differences, those changes, as dramatic as you want, as subtle as you want, and as many different ways as you want. So the key idea here is change. You're asking them to do something different, and you're asking them to do something very specific. And the more accurate they can be, the more controlled they can be, the more the skills are going to improve. To help swimmers learn this, we're going with head-up backstroke. So swimmers need to time the recovery and the rotation upon entry, and this should happen both aggressively and simultaneously. So we want swimmers to enter the water and then rotate at that time really fast so that they can get into position to set up the stroke. So if swimmers are doing that passively, they're not going to be using the arm recovery to facilitate the rotation, and that's ultimately going to be impairing both timing and propulsion, and we want to use the recovery in order to make that happen. What's really important is that it needs to be aggressive, and the precision matters. They need to happen at more or less the same time in order to be most effective. Head-up backstroke is a great tool to facilitate this because by lifting the shoulders slightly, swimmers have to be a lot more aggressive with their rotation. They have to be a lot more aggressive in figuring out how to get the arms over the water and drive them into the water in order to make it happen. So if the timing's not effective, if they're not effective with driving the shoulders and they're not effective with driving the shoulders with the recovery, it's going to be really difficult to maintain any sort of flow, any sort of rhythm, and that's going to really throw them off. And that feedback, that feeling really terrible when they're moving through the water, helps them figure out how to get things rolling a little bit better and a little bit smoother. And so this is putting them in a position where it's much more likely for them to figure out how to make it happen. And then, of course, it's not actual backstroke, so you just pair that with regular backstroke, and they try to maintain that same flow, that same rhythm, that same timing, and then things tend to sync up really well. So it's a great way to help swimmers feel and encourage them to adopt a more aggressive strategy. And once they can do that and apply that to regular backstroke, they're going to be much better off. So you can see here, there's going to be an exaggerated shoulder drive, and that shoulder is going to drive into the water when the hand drives into the water. And so by having him sit up with the head a little bit, he's going to be driving those shoulders more. The timing is going to be a lot more effective. The timing is going to be better. And then it's just a matter of laying back into the water and doing it with regular backstroke swimming. So while these different strategies are a great starting point, we actually have to challenge them in order to get the changes that we want. So use different performance expectations. You can have them go at faster speeds. You can have them pick the stroke rate up. You can challenge them to execute in different situations. Stroke count's probably not going to be super effective here because we're not trying to get longer with this. We're just trying to execute with better precision, and the faster they have to go, the more difficult that's going to be. You can do it with really slow stroke rates, and that's also going to be a challenge because they're going to have to be really controlled in what they do. These challenges are particularly effective because it forces them to adapt in different situations, even if they're using the same strategy, the same drill. And so novelty helps build skill, variety helps build skill, and it doesn't have to be maximal. It's not about going at maximal speeds, but building can be really useful, descending can be really useful, not necessarily to all out, but just having them change speeds is going to have them feel different things. And the more they can feel, the more different ways they can feel it, the faster they're going to be able to go, and the more they're going to be able to improve their skills. Now, a bonus strategy you can use with some more advanced swimmers that are more fit and have kind of the control and the ability and the strength to manage this is you can use some light resistance in the hands. So you can either have them wear drag socks on their arms, or you can have them hold some coins in a closed fist. Both cases are going to give them a little bit more resistance in different ways. The coins will give them a little bit more weight in the hand. The drag socks will give them a little bit more resistance coming out of the water. And that extra resistance creates more awareness. So swimmers are going to be able to better feel how they're recovering the arms. That's going to help them get a more efficient arm path. And by giving them that resistance, swimmers are going to find the easiest way. Recovering with any sort of load is going to be difficult, and so they're going to feel, wow, that one was harder, that one was easier, and that's going to help them lock in and figure out which way is going to be most effective and fastest and easiest. All the strategies we've talked about so far, all the different drills, you can use resistance with those, and that's going to make them a little bit more effective, and not only just more effective, but it's going to provide a different stimulus which swimmers have to manage, which is going to be really effective at helping them improve. This is a simple set to help swimmers improve these skills, focusing more on the skill development as opposed to really generating some fitness. So we're going to start off with 425's paddle cap backstroke, build each 25, keeping the paddle on the head, keep everything locked in, set that skill up. Then they're going to go 475s that are 50 clock drill, and then 25 backstroke. They're going to get faster each one. The first 25 of the clock drill, they're going to start with the arms straight up overhead and then move them down to the sides. And then the second 25, they're going to start with the arms to the side and move them up straight overhead. That's going to challenge them to manage those different positions and create speed in those different positions as they descend down as well. The next piece, they're going to go 4 rounds. They're going to go 50 clock drill and then a 25 backstroke. They're going to be separate efforts. On the clock drill, the odds, they're going to go 25 left arm at 3, right arm at 12, and then 25 right arm at 9, left arm at 12, and then they'll flip that for the even ones. So they're experimenting and playing with different arm recoveries at the same time. Again, it's going to challenge their ability to be aware. It's going to challenge their ability to control things. And the more they can do that, the more effective they're going to be at knowing what to do, knowing how to do it, and then making it happen. Next set is more of an endurance set. They're going to go 25 of the drill and then 100 backstroke. The 100 backstroke, they got to get faster within each round without taking more strokes. And then by round, they can get 1 more stroke per 25, and they got to go faster as well. On the drills, we're going to do them a little bit different each time. For the first 25, they're going to do clock drills, start off straight overhead, and then go down to the side. The second one's head up backstroke, driving the arms a little bit. The third one is clock drill again, start off to the side, go vertical overhead. The fourth one is going to be head up again, driving the shoulders. And then the fifth one, they're going to go straight overhead, down to the side, straight overhead, all within the same 25. And so those drills are all with some solid effort, or their build is strong. They're going to set up that 100, and then swimmers are going to try to execute the same way over the course of that 100. And again, each round's trying to get a little bit better. They're trying to get better within each round. And each time they do those 25s, they get a little bit of a reminder of what they need to do, how they need to execute it, all without disrupting the fitness that they're generating, the fitness that they're developing by doing all those solid hundreds. Last set is more of a speed set. They're going to go 3 rounds through this. They're going to go 25 clock drill, 25 head up, 25 clock drill, 25 head up, 25 clock drill, 25 head up, and then 25 clock drill. So the clock drills, they're going to start off to the side, and they're going to get a little bit more vertical until they're straight up overhead on that last 25 clock drill. Then they're going to alternate that with head up backstroke. So they're going to be really focused on driving the shoulders, being really aggressive with the arm recoveries there. And they're going to focus on the position of the arm recoveries during the clock drill. And then they're going to finish off every round with a 25 backstroke fast. And the first 7 repetitions of each round, so all the drill stuff, round 1, build to fast. Round 2, they're going to minimize stroke count and time. And round 3, they're all fast. So they're challenging the drills in different ways with different types of speed, and they're challenging the drills in different ways, both in terms of position and then also the timing and the aggressiveness of it. Then they're going to put it all together with that 25 backstroke fast and see if they can make it happen. So we're developing speed, but we're doing it with a specific intention, a specific focus on improving the arm recoveries and really getting that locked in. And that's going to allow swimmers to execute that skill when they're trying to go fast, which is what really matters. If you want to know what swimmers need to do with the arms once they get in the water and it's time to create a ton of propulsion, check out the video below.